What's going on, everybody? Storm Team 4 Chief Meteorologist Brian Niznansky here. This is Niz Weather Wizdom. The time is 11 o'clock on January 21st. January 21st, it is the dead of winter. It feels like the dead of winter. It looks like the dead of winter. Again, the time is 11 a.m. If you are watching this live. If you happen to be watching it later on this afternoon, just keep that in mind that I'm going to show you some live elements, and this will be for 11 o'clock on January 21st, Wednesday. So we got lots to talk about. The title of this is Toughest Winter Week, ? And I think that is in question because obviously we don't know what the rest of winter is going to entail. But given the multiple snow chances, the couple hits of cold, likely our coldest air of the season arriving later on this week, Thursday night into Friday. And it doesn't even look like that's even in question. It looks like it's a slam dunk and a guarantee almost. So we got a lot to talk about. So let's get right to it. Again, if you happen to be watching this live or recorded, I highly encourage, and if you're on Facebook, that's awesome. Hit me a follow if you haven't done so. But I highly encourage you to head over to my YouTube page. That is Brian Niz Weather Wizdom. I think you can just search Brian Niz and it will come up. Or you can search Niz Weather Wizdom, Wizdom, and hit subscribe there as well. I highly encourage it. You'll get prompts on your phone. You'll know when these live updates come a lot easier. So let's get right to it. Let's talk about the last night. Snowfall wasn't a ton. 1 inch for many locations, as much as 2 inches in McGuanago. Got a report out of Wales at 1.5 inches of snow. Milwaukee officially 1.5 inches of snow. We were predicting 1 to 3 inches last night, so on the lower end of that. We're not done completely with the snow. We do have more snow on the way. Let's take a look at the current scenario. Again, please, if you are watching this later on, recorded, this is for roughly 11 o'clock this Wednesday. You can see the snow from earlier last night working its way out, couple flurries lingering, but we are watching this area of snow currently working across eastern South Dakota, some flurries in Minnesota. This will all be tracking into southern Wisconsin this afternoon. So if you happen to be watching across the region, it will clip the Chicagoland. It's going to first move across southern Minnesota into Iowa, La Crosse, Platteville, and then eventually us here in southeastern Wisconsin. So let's time that out here with the HER computer model. And the HER will show, again, that area of snow entering southern Wisconsin, looking to be a pretty direct hit for southern Wisconsin. Madison to Milwaukee, Chicago probably a little bit less snowfall, but the time frame on this, sorry I don't have this on a more of a zoomed view for us here in southern Wisconsin. Maybe I can find that here for you. But the timing looks to be late afternoon and early evening for the bulk of this snow. So again, this is frozen here at 5 o'clock. Things look to be getting slippery on the roadways by then, and then moving out. So still trying to look here. I didn't have it loaded before. Just a quick run of a zoomed in run of this model for southeast Wisconsin. Here we go. This will get our timing a little bit better here in southern Wisconsin. So we're dry for the most part through most of the day. 5 o'clock, that's when the snow starts to move in. Gets maybe briefly heavier around 6, 7 o'clock. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. 8, 9, pretty much wrapping up. This is going to be a quick hit of snow this evening, but enough that will make our area roads slippery here in southern Wisconsin. Let's show you the HER computer model. Now, that was the HER with the precipitation type. This will be snow accumulations with the HER. And in general, I would say we are looking at about 1 to maybe as much as 2 inches of snow here this evening. Yep, that's pretty much what the HER is looking at. Maybe a little bit less north. From Milwaukee to Waukesha to Madison, looks like over an inch of snow. Until you get down to Kenosha, maybe it drops off a little bit. So there's the HER. Let's look at the graph, our in-house short-range computer model, see if there's any major differences in this. This brings the heavier band farther south and lighter. I like the HER. The HER's been doing a pretty good job right now. And within 12-hour window, the HER tends to do better with these events, especially these smaller scale events. So that I like for additional snow. By the way, if you are watching this, Facebook, YouTube, you name it, please fire away a question, a comment in the chat section, and I can address that here live. If I get it later on this afternoon and you're watching this recorded, feel free to leave a comment and I'll try to reply to it in the comment section. So we can read your questions and comments here and then address them. Also, if you happen to be watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button for Niz Weather Wizdom. If you're on Facebook, head over to YouTube after this, find me there, and hit the subscribe button. You can search Brian Niz or Niz Weather Wizdom. All right, let's get back to it. As far as the snow goes, let's look at a statewide view here. I think in general, these next couple of days, we're looking at minor snow accumulation statewide, obviously a little bit more here in southern Wisconsin. You may have heard there is going to be a monster snowstorm, winter storm for the southern part of the United States. Let's pick this up on Friday midday. While we're dealing with extreme cold here, the cold is really diving down as far south as Texas, Arkansas. They're looking at heavy icing for Dallas, like one of those like classic potential ice storms for Dallas. Reminds me of the Super Bowl, right? You guys remember that? Eventually heavy snow to Memphis with the mix. Atlanta dealing with an ice storm. This looks like, like when they get it like once or twice a winter. And I mean, a very long duration event. This is like, just follow along with me for a second. Let's go back. So this is Friday evening. Dallas starting with rain, then changing over. We're now into Saturday. Still storm system. Saturday night. Look how it like rebuilds again for Texas. Sunday morning. Almost like 2 centers of low pressure here. And then eventually this all heads for the mid-Atlantic and East Coast. So, of course, we're going to be hearing about it by this weekend. But this looks like a lot of snow if we get like that double barrel low. In fact, let's look at the snow accumulation. Then we'll get back to the Midwest here and we'll talk about the extreme cold for the end of the week, which, by the way, I've also heard a lot about potential school closings on Friday. I think it is a very, very realistic likelihood for us here in southern Wisconsin. Look at the snow accumulation. You start to get into that purple shade. You're talking about like a foot of snow. Then you start approaching like 1.5 to 2 feet if you start to get into like that light pink. So, I mean, look at that swath from Oklahoma to Arkansas, Kentucky. The purple, though, again, you're looking at potentially a foot of snow from Amarillo to Tulsa to Arkansas, much of Tennessee and Kentucky, and then the mid-Atlantic. So, yeah, this is a big one. Before I get to the cold, let's see if we have any questions, comments coming in. No one wanting to chat today. Let's see. Anything? Nope. All right, that's cool. That means maybe I'm conveying the message perfectly. I doubt it. Let's go back to the cold. So, current picture. Cold is kind of backed off across the Midwest. Sure, it's still winter. It's still cold. But it's nowhere near where we've been. 23 in Milwaukee, that feels pretty darn good. 12 in Rhinelander, 19 in Minneapolis. Let's go all the way up into Canada, and you will, of course, see as we get close to the Arctic Circle, some very Arctic air. Cambridge Bay, beautiful this time of year. 33 below zero, actual temperature. Yellowknife, 15 below zero. Churchill along the Hudson Bay, minus 24. And then again, we have our temperatures here across the Midwest. So let's look at the upper levels and we'll show you what's going to happen. Is literally that air that is up by Cambridge Bay, that air mass, that exact air mass will come across the Great Lakes. Now, because we're further south, it won't be as cold. It'll lose some of its punch as that air mass moves in, but that's where the air is going to originate. Look at that slam in here, Thursday afternoon, evening into Friday morning. Notice that swirl up towards the Hudson Bay. That is the polar vortex. It does not work across the Great Lakes, but it is a major influence on our weather heading into the weekend. Let's look at state feels like temperature, state wind chill for Thursday night into Friday morning. By 1:30 Friday morning, we are at 22 below in Milwaukee, 42 below in Eau Claire. Then if kids are going to school, 8 o'clock Friday morning, 40 below in Milwaukee, 48 below in Wausau and Rhinelander. To me, historically, this looks like a day off of school for most students on Friday. Now, again, we don't make that call. The Weather Service doesn't make that call. That is a call with each district. However, knowing their guidelines in the past, this would be extreme cold warning. And in the past, they have canceled school once we have an extreme cold warning. Now, some schools may not, but historically, most do. So I want you as parents to kind of just be prepared for that if you are a parent. Let's take a closer look at those wind chills here in southeastern Wisconsin. And I mean, look at that. That's like disgusting. 45 below Fond du Lac, 40 below Milwaukee, 41 below Burlington. This has been very consistent on the computer models. Again, there isn't much in the way of, let's say, discrepancy. This looks to be almost a guarantee. And because of that, the National Weather Service is already well in advance of this issued an extreme cold watch that will likely turn into an extreme cold warning unless things dramatically change. So I mean, you want more time to plan, prepare. I'm letting you know right now, I would get a plan and preparation in for a snow day, well, cold day on Friday, if you have students at your home. I would also say, like, if you are an employer and you have outside workers, whether you're a municipality or whether you are, private sector, construction, whatever, I mean, I know you have your guidelines already, so I'm not lecturing you, but I'm just letting you know that it's a day that you probably are going to implement whatever you do when you want to limit your workers' time outdoors on Friday. Sure, you can bundle up, be out there for some period of time, but it'd be really rough if you're out there all day in that cold. So with that all said, I appreciate everybody for joining. There apparently are no questions, comments coming in, which is fine by me. That's awesome. But if you do have a question or comment and you're watching this later on in the afternoon, again, the time right now is like 11:15 a.m. So if you're watching this later on in the afternoon, feel free to write a comment and I'll reply to it as well. If you're on Facebook, awesome. Hit me with a like or a follow. If you are on Facebook, head over to YouTube, search Brian Niz, or Niz Weather Wizdom, W-I-Z, and subscribe to that page. It'll be a lot easier for you to get these live weather reports.